Okay. I don't know why this thing keeps like being live for like a full minute before I actually go live. I guess it just doesn't do that. I don't know. I think it's just trickery. Hope you guys don't have a minute of silence before I start talking. Anywho, this video is because I made a video a little bit back responding to Bear Independent's video about the gun community. And one of the things that I said in that video for him was 22 LR for self-defense. He made a whole video on that 3 years ago that I didn't know existed. That came up in my feed. So I watched that. He and I basically say pretty much the same shit. We even talk about the same story in Vietnam that we heard from Nut and Fancy. Probably, like I would bet dollars to donuts that's where that story came from, because I'm pretty sure I heard it in the 1022 review from Nut and Fancy. And considering he was an Air Force pilot, that's one of those things I'm guaranteeing you that's where I heard that story. Anyway, what he said in the video echoes what I would tell you, which is don't, right? But here's what I was saying in the other video. If you are on an extreme budget right now and are starting from the beginning, the first gun that I would get is the Savage Model 64F Takedown. Or is it the Savage? I guess it's the Savage 64 Takedown. Whatever. It's a $200 rifle. It can be taken apart. It comes with perfectly decent iron sights on it that you can run, or you can get peep sights like I did for $80. Put some paracord on it for a handguard. Get a M1 Garand sling. Get a drill and modify your fucking mag catch. It's not that hard to do. It's a $200 gun that breaks in half. This is considerably better than most handguns for most things. That's my opinion mostly, but that's pretty much true. Bear's arguments were all about this gun versus a rifle, which he and I fully agree on. Basically, my contention to you is that if I have a 20 round mag or bigger in a 22 long rifle that has a 16-inch barrel, and the ranges are fairly close, and I have enough ammunition to spray a bit, I like a 22 rifle. Because I can send a burst of 3 to 4 22s at somebody's eye socket. One of them will hit something. You can be really, really accurate with it. And you don't need to be. Like I was saying in the other video, I'd start at the sternum and just like do a burst, 3 or 4 rounds. It'll go up as it goes. You'll get 1 or 2 in the sternum and chest, 1 in the throat, and a couple in the fucking head. That's going to cause that dude some issues. He's not going to be worried about fighting anymore. I can guarantee that. Like, maybe you got real unlucky and all 6 bullets didn't hit anything at all. That can't happen. The time I got shot, it did not hit anything, basically. I got very, very fortunate. The other time I got shot was a pellet of buckshot so far away that I picked it out like it was a BB. So that one doesn't really count, I don't think. But the other one was a legit bullet wound that went straight fucking through my body and didn't hit a goddamn single thing important. Believe it or not. $1 million wound. Hit me in the ass. Apparently, there's just not a lot important in the ass if it doesn't hit the artery. Didn't hit the artery of the bone, so you good. Like, this is why I changed everything about how I evaluated what I was going to do for self-defense. Because basically, actually being shot, it made me focus on being really, really fucking accurate and shooting for like the heart and the head because nothing else fucking counts. That's just fucking true. If you're training to shoot for anything but the fucking heart or their head with any bullet, it doesn't count. Now, if you hit them with a big enough thing, like you hit somebody with a 50 in the chest, yeah, that's gonna. They might not have an arm left on. Like that's gonna cause a lot of shit, right? That's different. We're talking right now about relatively small calibers that do relatively light amounts of damage. You need to get that like a bullet is just an arrow with no shaft. Basically, it doesn't do that much damage. We are very weak, defenseless things, and the weapons that we have to target men are lighter as a result of that. And this is where 22 for a budget option that does a lot of shit for no money. Like, fuck, I like this gun. And like, this would be what I would tell them to buy as their first gun. Because if I was going to hand a gun to anyone like that didn't know how to shoot, this is what they're going to shoot best. Like, do you want them to have a gun that they shoot well or a gun that they shoot badly? That's what I would consider. And like, this isn't, I'm not saying for these people to have like, hey, we're going to go take over the government and whatever. Like, honestly, I think all of you people are fucking idiots. This is, hey, I need a PDW to defend my home kind of a thing from rioters and looters and whatnot. As far as the stuff to go take over the government, I wish we could. I just don't think that's a viable thing at this particular moment. Now, that is a changing landscape. As the landscape changes, terrain dictates the tactics. Well, it's kind of the same thing here, right? Like, if you can take over the fucking federal government and get the army on your side, do it. Right? The main issue with 22 LR for self-defense is that weakness, right? It is the weakest of the weak rounds. But in reality, everybody carries a fucking 9mm and just thinks it's hot shit. And they're carrying it in like a 3 to 4 inch barrel. And I hate to tell you this, but a 9mm out of a 3 to 4 inch barrel and a 22 long rifle out of a 16-inch barrel, there's not that big of a difference to the damage that they do to a human head. There just isn't. Like, is one worse? Yes. One is worse. However, if you're doing the shotgun plan, one being worse doesn't make up for there being three of the other one. That's kind of where it's at. You never shoot to never train to shoot someone once. Like, it's not very effective. Like, this is another thing, a lot of trainers aren't allowed to tell you, really, at least not. They'll get in like a classroom or something and then they'll fucking say this shit. But like, in reality, if you are taking one shot, put him down. If he did something to deserve a bullet, he did something to deserve a bullet. That's the way the law is. Okay? If you live in a place where you can't do that because of the law, then my encouragement to you would be to form a fucking gang, militia. That's what all these people call fucking gangs and militias and shit. Like, it's all the same thing. It's just a group of people with fucking guns that don't listen to the fucking government. Or might listen to the government, like in some situations, like if the Russians invaded, there'd be a hell of a lot of local militias that would all be in the fold at that point. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of the 22 LR as a defensive thing. I'm a big fan of it as like a game getting thing and a training thing. And as such, it's really, really good. Now, knowing all of this, And knowing how vulnerable the human head is to bullets from a 16-inch barrel 22, not a big step to say, hey, maybe we could use this thing in combat. And it would be one of those, again, like, you'd have to be real good. Like, I don't know about that, man. Like, that story of the dude in Vietnam taking out, like, the platoon of NVA with the 1022, maybe just A22. Like, the thing that makes me think that that is Nut Fancy story and was from the 1022 review is because I misremember that as him having a 1022. But I'm pretty sure Bear is right in that he had like the Henry AR-7 kind of thing, which is even more impressive, really. Like, that is not a good gun at all. It's, you know, that's one of those guns that, like, my Savage 64 takedown is such a better gun than that gun. It just is. Like, the Savage 64 can't get stowed in its stock. It needs a bag. But short of that, it's basically better in every single way. I've got onboard magazine storage. I got two 10-round magazines. I want to get two 20s and jungle mag them next. They didn't make 20-round mags for this when I bought this gun. I only bought one extra mag because I kind of figured, why would you need more for a 22? And then I came up with the idea of jungle magging them, because, like, if you only have two mags for 22, why not have them together? That way, like, on a survival gun, you have, a quick reload and or an entire second magazine should the first one break. I think it's genius. Like, honestly, this is a genius survival rifle. It's one of those things that, like, the second I hinted about selling all of my guns and, like, going and living with a bow and arrow and a fucking black powder revolver for a while, somewhere in, like, the Rockies, no spec, Blazer, fucking was wanting to buy this gun. It's like, so the 22, the 1911, the black powder revolver. He had a wish list of the guns that I fucked with. It was basically all of the pistols except for the Flux Raider and the 22. And honestly, I think he'd probably dig the ARs if he held them, but they're a little out there on the paint jobs for him. I get that. To be honest, I like the Flux Raider because I kind of kept it toned down a little bit. If anything, I might clean off the Mando skull I did, because I don't really like it. The spray can sprayed the wrong color. Like, apparently it wasn't shaken well or some shit, and it sprayed like a lighter green. I don't know, it's not how I wanted it to look at all. I keep thinking about cleaning that off. It's one of those, like, it didn't look good at the start, and as it wears, it's really not looking that great. It's like that was a miss on it. The Cux Raider thing and the LV426, those are good. I don't know. We'll see. I'm at least probably going to clean off some of it and, like, maybe leave the eyes. But the point of my previous video on all of that Bear Independence show, is one of the main points that related to this 22 was I spent several $1,000s on a 9mm PDW setup because I just wanted one. Like, I kind of figured, if nothing else, into the world, it'd make a good trade or barter item. But I love it so much. It's one of our pistols now. To be honest, I hope my girlfriend Dakota comes back at some point eventually, and whenever she does, that'll be waiting for her in a laptop bag. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Might even just go give it to her. She needs a gun for the apocalypse. Be pretty badass to give a fucking girl $4,000 fucking package for a fucking PDW. She drives a $2,000 car. But you know, she's a woman after my own heart. Like, cars aren't important. Cars get you from A to B. Like, I like having a cool car, but my definition of what is a cool car is not what everyone else's definition is, I guess. Like, I drove a really cool FJ Cruiser for a long time because I bought that thing just to have something to drive for a while. And I kind of figured I wasn't going to drive it that much, and it was a special edition, and that it was going to hold its value at the very least, and that I would sell it and buy a new car. I didn't kind of figure that I wouldn't, I would need to be worrying about the end of the world and a whole bunch of other shit, basically. The only reason we spent $2,000 on a beater van instead of $20,000 on something else is I was looking at the world and I'm going, I need as much liquid capital as humanly possible, and I need the best car for the least amount of money. And when I went scrounging, that thing turned up for $2,000, and it had just had a new transmission and drive shaft put in it. Like, that's dope. But like, that's this gun. That minivan is not the cool answer now. Like, you should go buy the shiny car. No, bitch. You all aren't about to not have the shiny cars because they're owned by the banks. I own my fucking car, and it is of a model that there are other ones like sitting around that I can get parts off of, and just lots and lots of other shit. It's a well-made Japanese automobile. Like, this gun is the gun version of that minivan. It's uncool, and it gets the job done. And like, as far as defending your minivan or pile of food next to the minivan, you could do it with this. It would suck. But like, if you're really at the point where like you might not even have, when you're buying a weapon, you're not buying just a weapon. You're buying a weapon system. This is what I try to communicate to people all the time. This is like, James Yeager hated that language. I really kind of hate that language too, but like, hear me out. For me, in what I do, I have to support this gun for the rest of its existence. So as a system, does it have costs? Does it break small parts all the time? Should I have small parts for it anyway? Yeah, I don't for the 22 though. I do for AR-15s, and I do for 1911s. And I have a bunch of other random parts for trade and shit too. Anyway, these are considerations. How much do magazines cost? How much does ammunition cost? And if you really are at a base level, like, hey man, I have a $2,000 minivan and a pile of food and no guns, and you need a gun to defend it, the guns that I would go and buy would literally be, I would clone my Savage 64 takedown build with the iron sights, and I would get a bunch of the 20 round mags and jungle them. And you're like, well, those are expensive or whatever. Well, like, when I say a bunch, I mean like 6. Like, this is just the thing. Like, anything you buy, you're gonna have to buy magazines for, and you're gonna have to buy a bunch of ammo for, and you have to buy a sling for, and a light mount, and a light, optic, irons, whatever. Like, you're gonna have to do this to whatever you buy, basically. The 22 takedown, this is the cheapest fucking weapons thing you can get into. Ammunition is the cheapest. The magazines for this thing, The 10 rounders are actually quite reasonable. They're like $20. The 20 rounders, I don't know what those are going for yet. Eventually, I would imagine those also settle out at around $20 somewhere. In either case, even with 10 rounds and a dual mag, I would take that. Now, once you have that and you teach yourself to shoot it and learn to shoot it well, the thing that I might get next would be a 9mm handgun. And why? And be like, well, shouldn't I get a 22 handgun? Nope, no point. Just flat out no point other than pistol marksmanship, and you don't have the money. So get a 9mm and dry fire a lot. Live fire as many rounds a week as you can afford to buy to learn how to shoot. And like what I would do is I would save up and keep buying ammo, and then once I had a few hundred rounds or so, I'd take half of that and I'd go train with it. And the whole time in between buying the gun and that training thing, I'd be dry firing like a motherfucker. Go look up how to dry fire practice. Basically, dry fire practice is one of the most important things that you as a shooter could be doing. It is skill development. And for a handgun to go with this, like I said, I would get a small 9mm and I would get a Taurus. The Taurus was at G3X, I think, the compact one. The magazine bodies on those are SIG 226, so you can get bigger mags for them. And they take Glock sights. It's a good gun, and it's like 250, 350 somewhere in there. And that gives you a gun that you can carry on your side. And the 22 gives you small game hunting and a legitimate long gun self-defense option. And like I said, if it were me, I would have the rifle as the go-to, and I would carry the 9mm as my sidearm, and that way you have two guns. And once you have this and have all of the ammunition and mags for those two guns, then I would start working on building an AR-15. But like the thing is, the AR-15 is a lot more money commitment than these others. You're looking at a gun that you're going to have to drop probably $4,000 or $5,000 to really get everything you need for it. Get that, and I know that sounds like a lot, but you need to understand when I say $4,000 or $5,000, you need to have an AR-15 that is of an acceptable quality. In today's day and age, if you're only going to have one, you're probably going to want to have some fucking options on it, like a rail and backup iron sights, an optic. And then on top of that, you're going to have to buy enough ammunition to feed it and enough magazines to hold quite a bit of that ammunition. So, all that being said, yeah, I would plan a good $4,000 or $5,000 to go into the rifle system. Anyway, it's a lot of money. I got lost in thought for a minute about something I don't want to talk about. So it's a lot of money on a fucking rifle. It just is, and a lot of people don't see it that way. They see it as, I'm just gonna buy a $300 Anderson, some shit. As someone who is sitting here with a Bear Creek upper and a Palmetto State upper on KE Arms lowers, you don't need to buy the best fucking shit in the world. But don't buy crap, basically, be my advice to you. And not buying crap means that you're going to have to spend probably about $1,000 on a rifle. Maybe 800. Kind of depends. Depends a lot on the market too. And like this is excluding basically the idea of Loki, which is Loki's what I would advise you to buy, and this would cut some money off of your fucking build, but it's going old school. Loki's a M16A3 upper from Palmetto State Armory. That's a 16-inch mid-length, and it's on a fucking KE arms lower. I think that upper was like 300-ish, 350-ish when I bought it. It's cheaper now because fuck the world. And the lower, you can get those lowers for like $100. They're fucking dope. So as a $400 gun, that shaves half of your fucking price off. But you're stuck with hand guards, and you're stuck with a fixed stock, and you're stuck with that grip. But like, do you really need anything else? I like this. Like, you can trade out the hand guards for Magpul hand guards for like $30-$40 and do any M-lock accessories you want on it. And I'm gonna get a GG&G light mount that goes in the A2 front sight post to do a laser off of. So you can cut money there, but like that one rifle, let's say you did get Loki, cheap as you could get it. Once you just add accessories to that, which is just what the scope was $100, the mount was $50, that light's like $60, and that's like, so that's 210, and that mount's like 20, so 230, and 10. So it's like 250-ish in accessory. Oh, sorry, 320. There's a Magpul rear sight. Like $320 in accessories on the gun. Oh, maybe 340. Sorry, I forgot about the sling. It's doubles the price of the gun, basically. And we haven't even talked about mags and ammo yet. And this is why I said several $1,000s, because basically at a equipped gun here and a few cans of paint, you're at $1,000. It's, and a roll of tape to do the painting and shit, or however it is you want to do it. $4,000. If I had just built this gun now, and let's say that I spent the 1,000 to the 5,000 on this thing, which is pretty much about what it would be, I think, more or less, with taxes and shipping and everything else. Like, that's the world we live in now. Be about $1,000. So, how many mags do you need for that? It's not two. Like, for a fucking combat rifle, we're talking about something that we might need legitimately easy 40, 50 magazines. Do you need to get that all at once? No. But the gun is fucking useless without like 10 to 20. I think I've got like 18 or 19 mags right now, something like that, between two guns. And that's just for my own personal shit, and I don't figure I'm going to be fighting anybody, really. So, I would start out with at least 20. That's $200 if you get them from Palmetto, and there's some shipping and shit on that. And then the rest is for ammunition, because we spent all of this fucking money on a fucking rifle, right? Does the rifle do anything for you? No, it just costs money. You need ammo. And like, let's say your budget, just you don't have any money at all. What I would tell you to do is build Loki as cheap as you could fucking build her. Maybe even irons only. Save as much money as you can and buy a full case of Lake City manufactured 5.56. Okay, I would take a few boxes of that and zero that gun. And then I would take a few boxes of that and generally get to know how to use it. And I would try to save as much of the rest of that case of ammunition to at least fill out all your mags. Don't buy more mags than you have ammo. I think that's evident. I mean, you do need lots of magazines. My goal for you or whatever would be like not 10 to 20. Like that's what the starting point. Goal wise, you need to know that magazines wear out and need to be replaced. Like regularly, actually, especially in combat with like machine guns. Yeah, a lot. So for you and the shit hits the fan into the world, you may never be able to get magazines again. And then there's the idea of them being banned and yada yada yada. I would get at least 100 fucking 30 round mags, but I would get them in like 20 round batches, or sorry, 20 mag batches, or even just 10 mag batches, because Palmetto sells those mags in boxes of 10, basically, for $100. And like they undercut the whole fucking market. They took it over. You could go GI mags too, but honestly, I'd probably stick P mags. But yeah, 100 of those is $1,000. So that's mags and a rifle. We're at $2,000 for what you need to buy, in my mind. Like that's not like hyperbole, really. That's like, hey, you're wanting to know what you need. I'm telling you, like, you don't need a whole bunch of guns right off the bat. But like when you're investing in a thing like an AR-15, you should figure on spending probably at least as much money on magazines and ammo as you do on the gun initially. Now, if you are saving up and whatever, and you want to get the gun and have it to play with and whatever with no ammo, that sucks. I know, and I've been there, but it's way better than not having the gun, man. Spend the money, get the gun, then worry about what's next. Okay? Like, once you have the gun, just don't sell it, don't pawn it, whatever, keep it, it's yours. Okay? As far as anything else, like, you'll have to know that that's not something you can sell. That's mission critical gear and shit like that. Like, I don't know. As such, like, it's like buying totally different shit. It doesn't matter that this costs $5,000. We need, the ability to defend ourselves from multiple attackers in the long term. What does that look like? That looks like some sort of a palmetto upper on some sort of a cheap lower with a bunch of fucking mags and 5.56 ammo and maybe a red dot on it. Maybe iron sights. Like I would get the red dot, to be honest. It's not that much money. Loki, I put the scope on it, and I think that has decided advantages for things that I'm going to use this gun for. My other gun has a red dot. I don't know which is the right way to go. It depends on your situation. I have my guns set up to where they're good at a lot of things, but they are slightly shadowy versions of one another. Because, like, if I know that I'm going into a gunfight and it's 7 o'clock in the morning, it's gonna be a different gun I pick than if it's at fucking 8 o'clock at night. For the here and now, that's just kind of the way it is. You could have a gun that you use all the time. However, that's going to be very expensive if you have night vision and shit. If you have just this basic bitch Loki with a light on the side, it's not that expensive. And I would definitely get the red dot and the light probably. Like the scope, if you have the right light, the scope can be useful. But that's the thing is you're going to be using white light at that point. Like I would consider that thing to be kind of a defensive carbine if it's not set up for fucking night vision. And get backed into a corner someplace and use it at close range. So that's why the red dot makes sense to me. Like if you don't have night vision at night, you probably shouldn't be fighting at night, or at least not moving around as much. I would find a position and hunker down for the night. Like this is the way wars were fought for a long time. And like this is where people be like, well, this is why you need the night vision because then you can be the green-eyed googly monster or whatever. And like that's bullshit. Like there are gonna be people running nods. And they're gonna be really, really rich fucks defending a compound somewhere, and or military, and or someone like me who might be a third party actor kind of thing. Like most people probably aren't gonna have night vision. That's just probably the reality of it. However, there are people that do. And then white light, everybody can see. So like a lot of us are already being a little weird about having visible IR illumination because someone might see that. Yeah, I my advice to you would just be not to worry about it, to buy a red dot and a white light and to find a hole to hide in until morning. That's the cheapest solution, man. Schmeagle up with a fucking M4 carbine someplace. So for those not in the know, Smeagling up is a reference to Smeagol, who is Gollum from Lord of the Rings. You could Smeagol up somewhere by just loading it full of food and having a bunch of weapons and never leaving. It will be rough. And if you're hiding, then it's even rougher because you can't have noise or light or anything. And like it might get cold, it might get hot, and yada, yada, yada. It's going to suck. But it's doable. Like this is half the thing about surviving. It's like you got to learn to like embrace the suck of things, learn to enjoy the little things, and you know, just know at the end of the day that in all of the bad shit that's ever happened in history, most of the people live through it. You're gonna have to be most unfortunate to be one of the ones that gets killed, probably, unless we have some mass casualty thing, nukes and whatever. But honestly, I think our mass casualty thing is going to be a war in Europe. At least that's what it's looking like. Or maybe Asia. Like, there's a lot of places where it's sparking up right now. And it's kind of a fucking, pick your fucking doomsday. And this is why the religious people are going nuts. Like, there's some definite arguments to be made that there are some parts of the Bible that are talking about now. However, all of those parts of the Bible in the New Testament, those are odd. They're difficult to comprehend if you don't have several years for me to explain it. But suffice it to say that when your communications are being observed, you have to start talking in ways that they can't understand you. In my opinion, Revelations was written about the fall of the Roman Empire. And the reason that it, is a, prediction about the end of the world and whatever is because that was the end of their world. It put them into a period of chaos that lasted hundreds of years. We're in the 21st century, and there's a lot more of us now, and there's a lot more tech, and we think real fast. So my guess is this isn't going to last hundreds of years. My guess is if you want to know what we're going to go through, go look at Germany after World War One. That's, I think we are about to play the war of Imperial Germany in World War One. The German Empire was vast, and they controlled like half the planet. And the reason that the sun never set on the British Empire, well, it's because after World War One, they got all the German shit. And just go look at what happened to the fucking Germans before they became Nazis. All that Weimar Republic shit, all the fucking craziness with Hitler. Like, this is what our country is looking at going through. Prepare accordingly. Like, I don't really remember where I was going with that, but like, this is why I'm trying to make some videos on the most budget shit that I can for you guys that I would go to war with. And to some extent, that's also for me having to basically completely restart prepping guns in 2020. I never really talked about this on here, but I sold my entire gun collection to fund knife making. And, I had a shotgun and a Colt revolver. I had a Winchester, what's that model? It was a Winchester Model 1200 that I cut down to 18 inches and put a bead on. I got that for $200. And I had a Colt double action 32 that I got. I think that was like $100. Maybe it might have been more. It might have been like 150. But I had those, and like I liked my little cowboy revolver. It was a real Colt. I got dirt fucking cheap, and it really shot. And I was having a blast making knives and listening to Jim Croce because I had a 32 gun in my pocket for fun. So when COVID started, that's where I was. I had a little bit of shotgun shells with the shotgun, and I had the little revolver. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal, and I wanted to go make money and learn to do stuff and yada yada yada. So we sold it all basically, except for some really really deep cash shit. I'm not gonna talk too much about that, but like, there's some shit where I love my grandfather so fucking much, and weapons caches are definitely one of those. Like, this is half of the thing like people don't understand about me is I still had the shotgun and the revolver because I thought that's all I needed to defend myself in the here and now. So as soon as COVID hit, I started going, okay, I need to build a fucking gun. And the gun that I built was Tiger Queen, which was the predecessor to Loki. Tiger Queen was an 11.5 inch pistol with a CAC blade brace on it and a pin and welded muzzle device. So it was a not a pistol. It was a firearm or whatever. And it had a vertical grip. Like it was you know toeing the line. I really liked that gun, but like that's I went and built a cheap AR-15, and I didn't worry about a pistol at that point because I already had the shotgun and that little 32, and I kind of figured as far as a handgun to have with me to fucking intimidate and scare somebody off, shoot somebody in the face or whatever, that little 32 will get me by until I get something else. But AR-15, okay, and had I not had that shotgun and that pistol, that's why the first things on the list would have been find $100 fucking shotgun and to find a $200 pistol. Because like if you can find that shit used for those prices, do that. I don't think you're going to be able to do that anymore. And part of that's because like people are not selling guns right now. At least not that I've seen. I need to look at arms list again. Last time I've been to a gun show though, nobody's hurting for fucking money. Like this is like half of the thing about the gun shows over like the last I don't really it's been slowly growing over the last 10 or 15 years that people don't have to go out there and deal with the public and sell their shit anymore. So they don't do it. But like as a result of that, like the gun shows are dying, and like that's not really the big deal. The big deal to me is the reason the gun show's dying is the people that are left out there just think, well, I got the market cornered. I'll charge whatever I want. And like then some other jackass sees that, and some other jackass sees that, and then like everybody out there is charging crazy, crazy prices. And it's gonna take this huge fucking economic collapse for those guys to come around to, oh shit. Yeah, we might need to rethink how much our guns are worth because we need money for food now. There's gonna be some fucking real poor, desperate fucking mouths at the fucking gun show someday. If you have the money, having a few $1,000s in your pocket at a gun show is a good way to get cheap guns too. Because like, you'll be buying someone else's mess, and you need to know that. And this is where being like a guerrilla gunsmith really comes in handy. Like that's kind of me in a nutshell. Like I've been trying to prepare to fix guns and build guns in a garage. You know, I figure that's a handy skill. That's like the knife making thing. Like, did I need to know how to make a knife? No, but it teaches you a lot of other shit about making anything in general out of wood and metal and other shit, including plastics and all those sorts of other things. Like, it's bringing a product to market. I'm glad I did that shit too. Like, not everything in life is just about fucking war. Like, in our short term, yes, quite a bit about our life is going to be about war. But the thing that you probably ought to get is our future is probably going to be looking less Judge Dredd like and more. Oh, so whoever wins here, someone's going to beat us, and they're going to dictate the terms of us getting continuing to be. Basically, that's what happens in a lot of these empires and these wars, and they're going to fucking put shit on us that we don't like. It's going to be China and Russia and shit, and we're going to be under their thumb forever because they'll take away our ability to defend ourselves. And that shit ain't ever going to happen, basically. So before that happens, I think we're going to see like the United States military turn on the fucking screws at least. And like there's a bunch of shit we could be doing, but like we fucking let our military rot to the point that like it doesn't even work anymore. This is the fucking wars in Afghanistan changed our fucking military for the negative in a lot of ways. I mean, we got a bunch of money poured into kit. You get way cooler gear. But like in reality, we aren't really ready to fight a world war now. We were in 1990. And this is some of that like, oh, you guys had shitty kit in the 90s. No, we had the kit that was needed to fight the war that we're going to have to fight now, basically. Because us fighting Russia and China and all this shit all at once, you're going to be like arming fucking people with M14s probably before it's over. That's no shit. Like, this is World War I again. And if we have shit happening on our southern border that causes this hemisphere to go active, that's going to make it even crazier. And some of the stuff that's happening in this hemisphere already is going to dictate us using the military to secure the border, probably. Well, anyway, this has gone off the rails from 22 long rifle for self-defense, but I hope somebody's found this interesting. I thought it was interesting watching Bear Brief's fucking video on his 1022s. Like I said, I would not buy a 1022 for self-defense or a Savage either, but like as a training aid / first gun / thing to get you started, whatever, like it's everything. It's yes, buy that gun. It's $200. It can be taken apart. Why wouldn't you do that? It's something that shoots. Something that shoots is significantly better than a baseball bat. Just my opinion. Although to be honest, I love using a baseball bat. I have a fucking loose seal that I made just for the occasion. I always loved the Inglourious Bastards as the Jew Bear, Donnie Donowitz, whatever his name was. Okay, I'm really going now. I'll see you guys later.